G'day. Let's look at applying multiple materials on the same object. Before we even start, let's start a new document, load up start file, and let's load pack tree settings so we're all looking at the same thing. Before I even start, what I'm going to do is create a beach ball with multiple colors on it. So we'll get rid of this cube to start with, X and delete. We'll modify the lighting to give it a bit better lighting, so select my light source, over here to the object data, and change it from a point to hemisphere. It's actually looking right down through my insertion point, so that looks pretty good to me. Mouse back in the 3D view window. Let's add a mesh, and I want a UV sphere. So add a UV sphere. Down here on the add a UV sphere, change it to 8 segments and just 4 rings. So 8 segments and 4 rings. And it looks a bit chunky, but that's okay. By the end it will look quite good. We'll improve its look straight away actually by adding a modifier. So while the cube is still selected, over to the modifiers, so that's the spanner, and the modifier we will add is this subdivision surface, and we'll just give it 2 subdivisions. Now, sphere looks a bit better, but it's a bit oblique now. What we will do is we're just going to scale it out a little bit in every axis except for the Z axis. So S for scale, Shift Z to constrain it except for the Z axis, and scale by 1.1, enter, and that looks much better. It's time to colorize our sphere now. Let's go into edit mode, so tab into edit mode. In the properties window, let's look at materials. I'll just expand that a bit so I can see everything. There's materials. We want a new material, so we can click on the new button. It's a good idea to actually name your materials. Just call it material 001, 002 and so on. Can get confusing. I'm just going to start with a yellow and blue sphere. So my first material will be yellow. In my diffuse color, can we select a yellow? And now my whole sphere, if I do a quickie render, my whole sphere is just yellow. Now for a second color, we no longer have this new button here. We'll click this plus here to add a new material. Click on new. You can choose your own color here. I'm going to go with blue. And so for my diffuse color, I'm just going to select a blue. But nothing has changed. I've actually got to tell it where I want this color to be applied. So back over to my 3D view window, I'm going to go for the front perspective view. I'm going to change it to face select mode, and effectively I'm just going to select all the faces in one section. So A to deselect everything. Right click on that one, hold the shift key and right click on the other 3. Select my blue color and assign it. Let's go round to the next section. Click and then right click. Select all 4 sections. Select the color I want and assign it. Okay, so there's my ball. If I deselect everything, go back to object mode. It's not looking too bad, except it's not very smooth. So my last step in object mode is going to change my shading from flat to smooth. And there's my beach ball. Okay, you can save that, and I'll see you for the next lesson.